Hey,
Hello.
hey, there you are. How are you?
I'm well. Is this John?
Jack.
Oh, Jack. I'm so sorry. Jack, hi.
Good. No problem. No problem. Good. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Let's talk about your book. You can't do it alone.
Yes, let's do that.
Very, very, very interesting story. And your husband, Sean Whitesell, which is your married name, Whitesell, you go by
Yes.
Maria Quiban on Fox 11 because you are the meteorologist. Very important job, by the way. But today, I want to talk about your story, which is an incredible story. Your husband, Sean Whitesell, during a vacation you guys were on, you noticed some changes, correct?
I did. I did. It was just some really odd behavior coming from him that I hadn't, seen before. We've been together for a while, and before we went on this trip, we had both been very busy working. We had a young son. He was 3 years old at the time. And so we thought, you know what, let's go on this Paris trip. We both had never been. We'd never left our son alone before, so he was with my parents. And so it was on this trip that we were together 24/7 for really the first time in a long time. And so it was there that I of his odd behavior. He just seemed really, really tired. He was typically the one that would be first up and, worked out or wrote pages because he was a writer by profession. And he didn't do those things, which is really unusual. He didn't plan our itinerary. And I think the most telltale sign for me was he couldn't really hail a cab for us, which he had lived in New York for so many years and had lived on and off there for so long. And that just came naturally to him. And for him not to be able to do that in Paris was not normal.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when you finally convinced him that, Sean, I want you to go see a doctor and get yourself checked out. And when he did, you discovered very sadly that he was diagnosed with glioblastoma.
Close, glioblastoma. It's really the most,
Glioblastoma. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. It's done
glioblastoma
with
or GBM.
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 Okay, that'll be easy. We'll call it GBM. But either way, that it was scary, I'm sure.
Oh, it was terrifying and devastating. We landed from our trip to Paris. He knew something was wrong, but we never dreamt it would be a diagnosis like that. So it took 2 weeks for him to see the series of doctors who eventually ordered an MRI. And we were called to the doctor's office 2 weeks after we landed, and it was there that we saw the scans that he had, and we saw the deep, large tumors, numerous tumors deep in his brain, and they suspected it was glioblastoma, which is the most aggressive form of brain cancer, and for which there is no cure at all.
Wow. Oh, I mean, let me be. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one here that said this to you, but let me be the million person to say I am very sorry for your loss, ma'am. I mean, I just can't imagine, interviewer to great meteorologist here and great writer. I can't even imagine the thought of burying the person you love.
Yeah, it's not something that you definitely can plan for. That's for sure.
No.
And thank you for that. I do appreciate you saying that. And that's really the reason why I wrote this book. And what started as a sort of a promise to each other, Sean and I, when we were, and I say we because I feel like I was also diagnosed with this, but he and I talked about the whys, why us, which is what I think most people ask of themselves and ask God, why did this happen to us? We thought we were good people. We went to church. We tried to do good things. And, just always think that these things only happen to bad people. But we talked about the why. And perhaps it was because I wore a microphone every day. And maybe because he was a writer that we were supposed to, as part of our purpose, to shed a light on this disease for which there's no cure. And maybe in some small way, we can help other people cope with the devastating diagnosis, but also help raise funds and maybe inspire someone to do more research and eventually find a cure. Because you should never have to say goodbye to your loved one in this way. It is just devastating and really can crush you and your family.
Oh yes, absolutely. And from what I've learned, not that I've ever been diagnosed with cancer, but I am a family person who has had family who has died of cancer.
Mm,
My aunt died of lung cancer, and my grandmother also died of lung cancer. But
I'm
and
sorry.
and what people don't realize, well, I appreciate that. People don't realize that. I mean, can not all cancers will kill you. I mean, not all of
Hmm.
them will. I mean, I've known people who have had cancer for years, and
Yes.
they're still living an active life. But
Wow.
what your husband have, that's very scary.
Yeah, thankfully, there's so much advanced medicine now that so much hope for many who have been diagnosed with cancer. For this particular one, GBM, there is no rhyme or reason. It really does affect the young, the old, men, women. It does not discriminate. I mean, we saw children really that were being treated at the same place that he was, and it was seeing those moments that put perspective for us and really we were thankful and grateful for the time we had with each other. And it's, yeah, so hopefully with this book, we can help others cope with not just this disease, but any type of loss. Because also very thankful for Lauren Schneider, who did contribute to this book with me and really took all of the lessons we learned along the way. And she extrapolated from that and expanded so that it's more universal. And hopefully others can, like I said, really learn from what we went through. And this pandemic, by the way, Jack, it's really been so remarkable how similar the feelings that it's brought in me. So for anyone who've just suffered a loss, I'm so sorry during this time, particularly the same feelings of having no power. You feel powerless and have no control. That is what we went through those 18 months.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Incredible, and I mean, who would ever think when you and your son and your husband went on a vacation,
Mhm.
who would ever think in a million years that when you had got checked out, that you would be faced with something like that? I mean, wow.
Absolutely. To be honest, I think I had only heard the word glioblastoma once before, and that was only because I think at that time Senator Ted Kennedy had died of glioblastoma. So I think that was really the only knowledge I had of that at the time, and so it was a frenzy of googling and trying to find out, about this disease. And since then, uh, first of all, I couldn't find what I needed. And so that was another reason why I wrote this book was that this was the book I wish I had had at that beginning of when Sean was diagnosed. But now, since then, we've come to realize that even President Biden's son, Bo, who died just a few months before Sean from the very same disease, there's been many people now that I've heard about this disease. And it's difficult to talk about after because it really does affect your family so much that most people um, try not to relive or think about it. And it was difficult for me to go back and remember those moments in the book, but I knew that I was serving a greater purpose. And so now that it's finished, I'm really proud of it. And I hope that people will be able to find some comfort in it. And for me as well, when I hear people say that they've read the book and it's helped them, it does heal my heart because as you can imagine, my heart is broken. Our whole family, our hearts have been broken into a million pieces without
Oh,
Sean here.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure when you go to sleep at night, I'm sure you have lovely dreams and lovely memories of
Mhm.
the wonderful husband that you had.
We do, and that's the beauty of that, is that we talk about daddy memories all the time with my son, who's now
Nice.
he's 10 years old now,
God love him.
and yeah, he's really a well-adjusted kid, and I have to thank our counselor and our therapist, and I encourage everyone out there who is in pain right now, and especially during this time of isolation and quarantine, to reach out. Thank God for technology like this, where you and I can have this
Oh,
conversation.
absolutely. Well,
You know?
when Roger brought this to my attention, because I'm always asking, who's next, who's the next celebrity you would like me to interview? And once he told me your story, I fell in love with it. I mean, like, whoa, this
Oh,
is this is very touching. This is something that, that can be comforting for people who are going to be listening to this interview. I'm sure these are going to be words of comforting for those out there who have a loved one who is suffering from any kind of cancer.
yeah, and or if you know of anyone, you want to help someone, and sometimes we don't really know what to say or what to do when a friend or a family member or a loved one has been given some kind of diagnosis like this, and sometimes it's difficult to know what to say or do, and hopefully in the book you can get some insight into what one can do during these situations.
Oh, definitely. And my girlfriend, she's a cancer survivor as well. I mean, she didn't have the same cancer as your husband had,
Right.
but I mean, she is definitely a cancer survivor. She had curable cancers, what she had. But I mean, I
That's
think I think
great.
I think in cases like that, even with cancer that can be curable, I think is the right time that they catch it, would you say?
You mean the book
No,
or
no, 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 ma'am. I mean, the cancer, like when people are diagnosed with, I mean, there's million types of cancers out there. We'd be here until Christmas, but what
Mhm.
makes it so curable, in a lot of cases, I find is they get I think they detect it, early detection is
Oh, yes,
usually the best,
yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so important to stay on top of your, medical appointments and to listen to yourself and to advocate for yourself. In my husband's case, and in the case of glioblastoma or GBM, often when people start to see the symptoms of this disease, it's too late, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
that's really the problem with a disease like this. And it's very unique. I mean, when I talk about in the book about the support group that I found at the UCLA Medical Center, there's actually a support group specifically for caregivers of brain cancer patients. There's no other cancer that I know of that I've heard that has formed a specific support group just for that. It's it's really because of the harrowing uh, effects of this brain disease that there needs to be this one specific group for just those caregivers, and that just shows the severity of the deficits that come with this disease.
Oh, absolutely. And when being diagnosed with this type of cancer or any type of cancer for that matter, a lot of hospitals have a great counseling staff that
They do.
can really ease pain. And I'm sure you had that opportunity.
Yeah, I my only regret was not finding them sooner. And part of that is, hospitals and doctors they're busy. And so went back to the oncology department there at UCLA and I suggested that they should write a prescription for the family to go to the support group, not just make it available for you as sort of an option, but make it be sort of a requirement because I wish that I'd found them sooner. It took me a few months to get there to them, and without that support group, without the special people that I met there, I know that the journey we were on would have been even more terrifying. And it was already terrifying with their help. They were really lampposts for me and provided a light on this dark, dark road. Because all these deficits and treatments and experimental drugs, we just didn't know about the breadth of it. And so it's so important to find your village. And the title of the book, You Can't Do It Alone, it's so appropriate for today, especially when it comes to the pandemic. And I just encourage everyone to reach out, please, and find your village and know that it's okay to ask for help.
Oh, absolutely. And as the old saying goes, you know your own body. And if you see something strange, well, I'm not going to get into things that you might find strange in your body because
Yeah.
I don't want to get personal here or anything like that. But I will say that you notice something that's unusual, don't ignore it. Get on it right away.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm not going to town
100%.
today. I'm going to a hospital to check this out. That's what I'm going. So
Yeah.
in a case like that, but and the thing is, a lot of people, it could be they're scared, and being scared is very normal. It's a normal
Mhm.
feeling, but not finding out could be another story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important for all of us. Just a reminder to listen to our body and try to get an early detection if you can. Unfortunately, with brain cancer, and I think that's why we really need to try to find more funding to do more research. Your brain, it's hard to do any kind of testing in that because we're walking around. Your brain is really the heart of your body, besides your heart that beats, of course. And I think that's why it's so devastating. But yeah, thankfully, the other cancers that are out there, majority, they have some really advanced treatments and cures, which is wonderful. So we need to funnel it to brain
Oh yes,
cancer.
and being interviewed by people like myself, Dr. Oz. You're on the Dr. Oz show as well, and
Yes.
getting the word out about your book. I think that is absolutely necessary and absolutely the right thing to be doing here.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on your show to help spread the word about the book because it really is, especially now, like I said, during this important time. We can't remind each other enough that you can't do this alone. You can't do,
Oh, n-
yeah.
no, you can't. Now was it Lauren? If am I pronouncing her name right?
Yeah,
Lauren
Lauren
Snyder.
Schneider.
Okay,
Hmm.
was it her that convinced you, Maria? You should write a book on this, or
No, you know what? We found her after the fact, which
okay.
um, my son and I have our own. The first thing we did when Sean was diagnosed was seek counseling, and we found an amazing family therapist who not only helped Sean and I understand really the depth of a diagnosis like this and how it can affect you as a married couple, but also as a family. And she specialized in child development, and so she helped us find the language to tell our then 3-year-old son what a cancer diagnosis meant, what death meant. And at 5 years old, I had to tell him that his father had died of this incurable brain disease at his level. When the book came about was a year after Sean died. I was sent a really big leather bound book by one of our really good friends, and I realized when I opened it, it had every single piece of update email that I had sent during those 18 months. And I realized that I had sent so many updates to everyone. And then the promise that I made with Sean and he to me about writing our story, it came back to the forefront. And that was when I really started putting pen to paper and I started writing the book so I could share our experience and hopefully to help others. And it took me almost 3 years to write it. It was hard, it was sad, but it was cathartic. And now that it's finished, I really my prayer and my wish is that the book be a success, of course, but mainly a success in the way that more people are reading it and hopefully getting insight into what one can expect with suffering such a loss such as ours.
Absolutely, absolutely. Maria, is this book available now on Amazon and all other platforms?
Yes, you can absolutely order. You can't do it alone through any of your favorite bookseller from Amazon to Barnes and Noble to Target, or you can even go on my website, which will have links to it. It's mariaquiban.com, or you can just Google "You Can't Do It Alone" book, and you'll find your way to me for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Maria, I want to thank you so much for taking time to speak with me today and to share your experience and your lovely story. And well, all I can say is God bless you, and I
Uh,
wish you all the best for the coming future.
Thank you so much. I know that you are up in the upper latitudes. I wish you warmer weather soon.
Oh, absolutely.
and
Deep Breton, Nova
and
Scotia, actually, I'm from. So right now
oh
where I'm at, it's like 7:18, where it's
yeah,
3:18 where you're at, like 4 hours in the difference here. So that's
oh my gosh.
it's
Oh my gosh.
cold, trust me.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to say it was 72 degrees today here in sunny in
Right on, right.
California, but
I'll have to watch
um
your weather show one of these days. I'll have to. I mean, I have a salad dish, so there's a possibility I
sure.
do get that Weather Channel. Fox 11, correct?
Yeah, you can stream us. We're on foxla.com/live, and you can certainly stream us. Many people stream us from Canada, from the East Coast as well, New England. So yeah, check us out. I'm on from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Oh,
Pacific time. Yeah.
sounds good. Well, once again, Maria, thank you so much. God bless you and keep
Thank
yourself
you.
safe.
You too. Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.